So, the title of my talk today is What is Mine to Do? And I kind of took my inspiration also from another one of the little booklets. This is the one that was published by Unity for this Lenten season called In the Garden. And this third Sunday of Lent, March 23rd, the title of the page is Jesus Honored His Calling. Jesus honored his calling. And so as I was reading this, I was thinking, a lot of times we see Jesus as um, mostly divine, and we don't realize that he had a life experience. I mean, this is what we're to learn from. And I loved the part of the story that where Jesus is really very human. He's walking his path, his life path, and he's uh, confronting or having opportunities come to him. People come wanting something from him. People are drawn to him, and he has to deal with what is, showing up in his life, in his mortal life, in that place where he's kind of walking his his experience as a human in form. And I love that part of the story because that's the part I can identify with. I identify so much with him just living life as a human being in the midst of other human beings on the planet Earth as as an enlightened being. So there's something different about him because he's realizing something about himself in the process, which really is the entire Lenten story, is that process where he comes to a full realization and a full expression of the divinity within him. But it's not denying his humanity. And in this part of the story at this time, he's being called on to step into the truth of his divinity, to see past the things that are showing up, the crippled person, the illness, the blind man. These are all in his midst. He sees a lot of pain in his fellow humans, and he steps up in his truth and expresses himself as fully as he can realize as he's moving forward in his development. And one of the passages here, it says, living a spiritual life does not exempt us from difficult experiences, including those that are unfair and painful. And we know that in the story, this is what he shows is that, a lot of things went really wrong for him on his physical experience. And yet he continued to trust and elevate his point of view through his eyes to see that kingdom within. And and none of us are going to ever be able to avoid human hardships. As a matter of fact, many of us show up in a place like Unity Church of Brownsville when we're in that state of life, when whatever we thought we were doing no longer we no longer works for us, and it's no longer sustainable. And so this is when we as individuals reach for something higher. And I believe that that's what's happening right now to all of us as a collective in humanity and in the world. And so we're reaching for something higher, which is what you start to see that there's a purpose behind what we experience. And I mentioned to you all last month that I was reading and pulling from the text, a channel text called I Am the Word, written by or channeled through Paul Selig. And my intention is to bring one of the teachings from that book to each one of my talks in the coming year and tying it in for you with the unity principles. Because as I said, I really do believe that this work is kind of a more of a modern approach, but it's totally in alignment with unity. I call it Unity 2.0 because it's a guide to help us move forward. So I'm going to share a little bit of that book, that text, and also a tool from our Unity Foundational Teachings through Charles Fillmore around the 12 powers. So what is ours to do is to rise and utilize what we have been given in uh, in our for our experience. We've been given something, and we have to awaken that within ourselves and begin to step into it, just as the story of Jesus, both literally and metaphysically, teaches us and guides us to. So it's a wonderful time this Lenten season to reflect on the humanity of Jesus and the process that he went through and all the steps that he took to realize and express his full divinity. And so we're in that state now when he was coming into his powers, those powers that he called together. And Charles Fillmore kind of created a book around the 12 powers, and these are the disciples. Jesus actually had people, identified as those 12 powers within him. But those powers really also have a metaphysical meaning. So we're going to talk a little bit about those because I want us to, dust them off and bring them forth so that we can begin to utilize and activate and utilize these powers for ourselves because we're going to need them and we do need them. So right now I'm going to share my screen and be able to give you some of the it's going to take me a minute. So here's the cover of the book, I Am the Word, that I'm referring to. And I love the description. It's a guide to the consciousness of man's self in a transitioning time. Doesn't that sound like something we could really be using right now? Yes, we are experiencing transitioning times, and we are in the midst of a huge transition for humanity. And we're all part of it, and we're all here to serve this time. So the first chapter of this book, I Am the Word, chapter 1, is about the Word, the idea of what is the Word and how am I the Word. So to be the Christ, and this is a quote from this book, to be the Christ simply means to be yourself in full realization of your power as a piece of God in expression. So that's what Jesus, the Christ, was expressing in the story. So then he goes into quote at the beginning of the Bible. Again, this is the Old Testament, but it's the foundation of our faith. And that is that in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning. And this is the decree. The decree is that you are the Word. I am the Word. We are the Word. We're an aspect of God being brought forth into light, into expression, which is what the story is. So we don't want to separate ourselves too much from the story of Jesus. We want to step in to the story of Jesus as a reflection of our own path as we're developing and moving into our realization of our divine expression. So in the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary, which I took from truthunity.net, the description for what is the metaphysical meaning of the word Christ, well, it's the divine man, the divine man. And Jesus is the name that represents an individual expression of this Christ idea. And each one of you is also an expression of this individual expression of this divine idea, this Christ idea, this divinity within each one of us. So it's like, Barbara the Christ and Judith the Christ, and Oziel the Christ. So this is our potential to be that expression in divinity. So the Christ abides in each person as the potential for perfection. And Jesus Christ is the embodiment of all the divine ideas. So he's the example, the great example of embodying all of it. But it wasn't just like, boom, here I am. It was a process of unfolding in his path. And it is a process of unfolding in our path. So it's important to see it that way and continuing to identify and aligning with that. So I remember too, Judith, I saw you, so I know you're there. She and I used to say to each other, hello, face of God. Hello, face of God, because that is the truth of who we are. We are an expression of God with a face. So, Judith as God and Sandra as God. And we are the ones expressing right now individually in this plane of third dimensional world experience, earth experience, as. So even the songs that we sang at the beginning of the service alluded to that. But there's a lot of times words are kind of separate us. So we think God out there, Jesus over there, me over here. And it's not that. It's all of it together. That's the unified uh, reality. But we are experiencing it separated so that we could see it. And we're seeing through the eyes of Christ when we align to that truth. So, how do we put this into practice? Well, this is what's so beautiful about the teachings. Charles Fillmore was a real practical guy. He kind of he liked to kind of reverse engineer faith. He went back and picked it apart, and so he came up with some pretty good stuff. And one of them, I think, was the 12 powers of man. And we tend to kind of say, yeah, okay, we have 12 powers. Yeah, they're sort of like the chakras. Yeah, it's sort of like energy. And we kind of put it over here on the side. So, and that's okay. We're going to kind of bring it up, dust it off, and look at it again and see how we can utilize it for us to navigate this transitioning time that we're here in expression and embodied as Christ consciousness. So, uh, this is from his book. It says, you have within your consciousness 12 wonderful gifts from God. And your awareness of these gifts will help you in your spiritual development. Balancing these gifts in every daily experience will lead to inner peace and perfect harmony, both within yourself and with the world. So, one of the songs we sang is how we were going to be that in the world, how we're bringing that to the world. And it kind of sounds like we're supposed to go knocking on doors and telling everybody the good news. That's not what it's trying to say. It's we are going to be that in presence and being. And as we are that, everyone will see it. It's evident in the fact that we are expressing it. And I used this metaphor with you all before in the past. You've heard it a billion times. And it's like the light of God within us is shining through us and as us. Now, the light doesn't have to announce itself. It doesn't say, knock, knock, here I am, I'm the light. It just is. And as it is, it illumines. And as it illumines, it expresses. And it is what it is doing what is here to do, which is really to be. And so let's kind of take that into our consciousness for a little bit. That it isn't about the doing, it's about the aligning, so that that light that is the truth of who we are shines in and through everything we do. So it's a little bit different than maybe you've thought about it in the past. So let's look at these 12 powers again. And I like this little image because, he even identified certain parts in the body where they reside. But it's really a place for us to focus because the whole body is a creation, right? And so it isn't something necessarily tangible, but it's an energy. And your body is full of energy. There's all kinds of energy moving up and down and through your body, and it's expressing in all these kinds of ways. So getting used to the idea of energy within and without and around and as is a good idea to start, feeling that energy. And we can do that also when we do meditation. You spend time in meditation in the silence and in the quiet. You are giving yourself an opportunity to feel what that is. And so we can claim that I am the word. I am the word in my vibration. And we just let ourselves receive what that feels like in our own bodies. So here are the 12 powers: faith, strength, love, imagination. Power is a power: understanding, wisdom, will, order, release, and zeal. And I think one of the songs we sang earlier today was about, kind of activating our power of zeal, that enthusiasm, and the daily word speaks to it as an expression of joy today. So that's our zeal, right? Our joy. So we look at those and say, well, that's a lot of powers. And we don't, we're not going to be able to maximize all of them at once. And it's not about remembering where they are and who, which disciple is expressed with it or not. It's about putting them into practice. So let's go through them. What is each of these powers? And what they are is their abilities. Okay. So my ability to, that's how you're going to look at the power. My ability to. So faith is my ability to draw good from the invisible to the visible. That's what faith is. My ability to draw good from the invisible to the visible. To see the good in something is faith. What about strength? Strength is my ability to be steadfast in my thinking and feeling. So these are two aspects of us, our thinking and our feeling, that we need to also master and activate. Many of us let our thoughts take off, and we're thinking all kinds of things that we shouldn't be thinking. And we need to bring our thinking back where we are steadfast in our thinking. And then some of us are that way about our feeling. Our feeling energy is a wonderful energy, but it can also, be taken from us. And so we need to harness, we have that strength to harness our thinking and our feeling. Judgment. Judgment is my ability to discern, to evaluate, and make decisions. So I have that ability. I don't have to just rely on what other people say to me or what people tell me. I get to discern. This is my ability. This is my power to have this sense of judgment. I like discernment better because judgment has that connotation that you're kind of making something right or something wrong. But yes, you're going to evaluate, you're going to take it into your consciousness, you're going to make your own decision. You're going to take it into your center and you're going to use your power of discernment and judgment. Then there is love. So love is my ability to know oneness with all. That's love. It's not the emotional stuff. Like I have to like everything and agree with everything. No, it doesn't mean that. It means I know the truth. And the truth is that it's all love. It was created in love. We are created as love. Not everyone is expressing that. Well, that's another story. But it's still the truth, the oneness of all. And I can align to that oneness and harmony, which is my power to love. And then there's power. Power is my ability to change and build consciousness, to choose thoughts and feelings. I have power to choose, to build, to change, and to utilize my power of judgment, which is, again, to make decisions, and my strength for thinking and feeling. And then there's imagination, my ability to give shape and form to unformed mental energy. I love that definition because you realize that a lot of the thoughts, that's all it is. It's energy that's coming around in the form of thoughts. And we can shape that and form it to create. And that's our power of imagination. A lot of us misuse that power and we use it to worry. Oh, I could create and form this energy that I'm feeling all around me of worry and fear, and I can create all kinds of terrible things, in my imagination about what's coming. Or I can take my ability, my imagination, my power, and give shape and form to things I want to see and create in the future, or for my future, or for my life. Then there's understanding, my ability to know in my heart, to be connected to divine knowing. That's my understanding. That's a power. I have a power to understand the higher truth, to connect to that divine knowing, and to know something deep in my heart. If I don't spend enough time in meditation, I'm going to struggle with activating the power of understanding because I'm not aligning and connecting to the divine knowing. Will is my ability to be willing in the direction of God's will for my good. And, we have free will. We can choose to go in another direction. There's lots of Bible stories that tell us how that goes. We can choose anything we want to choose. Our soul is still going to learn either, through this path or that path. It's okay because, we're all going to end up in the same place at the end. The question here is the process that we're going through and what are we choosing? And that is a lot to do with what we end up experiencing. And in the story here at this point in the Lenten season, Jesus had to confront his will. He said, if I take this cup away, he was kind of seeing, I don't know if I want to go through this. I don't want to know if I want to go through this process for the realization of my highest expression. He had fear, he had doubt, he had trepidation. He was hoping his 12 disciples, his powers were going to be around him, but they all fell asleep. So here's where he is, kind of battling his own will. And then he comes to his understanding and he says, not my will, thy will be done. And so he aligned to the highest will that God had for his life expression. And that's what we're doing with our will. We can align to that as our highest and best truth. And we get to choose. We get to choose. We have the power of will to choose whatever we will and what we will not. We get to choose that. We get to say what yes and our no. We have a lot of power. And our power of will is a big one. And aligning it in a way to align with the highest power is probably, we're in for a lot of fun that way. It might not look like a lot of fun, but definitely a lot of growth for our soul. Then there's the power of order. That's my ability to develop consciousness in proper sequence. Order means that all creation comes into existence in third dimensional form through this proper sequence. Mind, higher mind connecting to my mind. Idea, we are an idea in God's mind. And expression, then expression. So we put these things in order, and this is a sequence of creation. And we have this ability to develop our consciousness in this proper order, aligning to mind, allowing the idea to be born in us, and then expressing that idea as us. The next one is zeal, my ability to move forward with enthusiasm. That one's pretty simple. What are we going to put our power behind, our zeal behind? Moving forward with enthusiasm is a power that we have that we can activate and use. Then we have renunciation or elimination. This is my ability to release what does not serve. I can let go of that which isn't serving me. I can identify it, I can see it, and I can choose to release it. And then the ability of life. Life is the conserver. Life is a conserver. So it's my ability to progress, obtain, and draw from the energy of life. So as we are living in this experience as a third dimensional being, we can draw, we have life. We have life. And that life is a power and it's a privilege. So we align to that and utilize our life and draw from that to move our consciousness towards that eternal expression. Because at the end of this body life, that life Our consciousness is what goes on. That's what remains. That awareness of who we were, that divine self that we are. The body was, last year's clothing, and it gets put aside. But that part that is us, that life within us, that moves on. So those are the 12 powers. I hope this is kind of a new way to be thinking about them. And then now we're going to utilize, okay, how do we put them into practice? So that again is using this beautiful tool that we have called denials and affirmations. Now, denials, we don't do very much with denials. Sometimes we forget those. We affirm, we affirm, we affirm, we affirm. And sometimes, unity people are, oh, y'all are just all positive thinkers. You're not facing reality. Okay. Reality is there. This is what's in front of us. And we have the power also of denying. We're not denying what is happening. We're not denying the circumstance. We're not denying our feelings. We're not denying, what's showing up. We're denying the power that it has over us. We're seeing beyond it, which is what the kingdom is, beyond what's already shown up. Because what's shown up is here because of what our thinking we've held in mind in the past. And not just me individually or you individually, but as a collective. Okay? This is the collective consciousness that is an expression right here showing up for us to see. All right? And so we're going to talk a little bit about how we do the denials. And we're not going to do denials like, a lot of power behind denial. A denial, the way the Fillmore's taught it, is you just kind of very gently wave it away like you're clearing cobwebs. Okay, like, you'll have a thought, and instead of getting all upset about the thought and putting all your focus on the thought, you just go like, okay, well, forget that thought. We're going to put it to the side, right? The power we want to put behind is our affirmations. So, for instance, here we go, faith. So, faith is my ability to draw good from the invisible to the visible, to bring it forth in faith, right? So, the denial could be doubt and fear of the unknown have no place in my mind or heart. Like I'm not choosing doubt and fear. I'm going to put those aside. There's a lot of people peddling that right now. So there's plenty to pick up in a bargain. So you're not going to pick that up. We're just going to let that go. Whenever it comes up, we're going to notice it and we're going to say, it has no place in my heart or mind. And then we're going to put in its place an affirmation. And this is why we want to do them both ways. We want to clear the landscape, clear the mechanism, and place the affirmation with some faith. We're going to put that in there as an affirmation. So an affirmation for faith could be, from God through me, only good pours forth into the world. That's what we sang about in the song. From God through me, only good pours forth into the world. And I'm going to go ahead and offer a little correction to your affirmation on the first principle, because we say God the good omnipotent, and that's kind of making him, again, making it a person. It's omnipotence. It's a power. Okay, God is a power. It's a force. So omnipotence. So from God through me, only good pours forth into the world. That's what I'm bringing that. I'm not bringing the fear and the doubt, and I'm not bringing that. Okay, I'm denying that. I'm affirming the good. Now here's one for strength. My ability to be steadfast in my thinking and feeling. So a denial could be, I deny any sense of weakness or despair. You're going to feel it. I feel weak. In the story of Jesus at that time in the Garden of Gethsemane, he was feeling that weakness and despair. But you deny that sense of weakness, despair. You recognize it, but you don't hang on to it. You don't walk around with it on a badge on you. You see it in yourself and you align. You use your tools. You pray, you meditate, and then you affirm divine strength surges through me now as energy, encouragement, and patience. So we see that divine strength be activated in Jesus, this story, and activate it within us too. We have this divine strength that we can activate and align to. Then we have judgment. I'm not going to do all 12. I'm just going to give you a couple of examples because I want you to pick the power that you need to work with. And I want you to create a way when it's coming up, a denial that you can release, and then an affirmation to work with. But you have to work with these. You have to use them. when you're confronted with what you're confronted with in regular, walking around life. Judgment is my ability to discern, evaluate, and make decisions. I have this ability. It is a power within me. So a denial, whenever you're feeling like a victim, you're feeling like you don't have a choice, you say, wait a minute, I release any pressure of decision making. You know, I remember with my one of my kids, he liked to put the pressure on me to, have him give him permission to do something. And I would feel that pressure, and you know how it is. Sometimes as parents, we give up, we go, okay, here's the cookie, it's kind of give in. And I remember holding on to this and saying, if you need to know the decision now, the decision is no. So that was my power. I took my power and I used it. So I released any pressure of decision making. I wasn't going to be pressured into making a decision. And then I affirm God as divine judgment is bringing to light my perfect direction. And, that could be very simple. Let there be light when you're trying to make a decision, or you're being confronted with the need to make a decision. You align, you take the pressure off. You say, I have no pressure. I am aligning and I claim that I can let there be light so that I have clarity in my judgment. And then the next one is love. Love is my ability to know oneness with all. So a denial could be there's no absence of love or sense of separation in my life. So there's nowhere, even though it looks that way, that love does not exist. It is just not expressing there. And I can see where love is missing. That's what I'm seeing when I'm seeing hate and fear and violence. I'm seeing the absence of love. But that's not really true. It is there. It's just not an expression. And what about within me? When I'm not feeling very loving, the truth is that the love is still there. I've just shut it off in some way, closed down my heart, or shut off from my understanding. So I want to stay connected to that truth. It's always there. Love is always present. Something's in the way. So there is no absence of love. And affirm, I am in alignment with the harmonizing power of love. I am in alignment. I line up to that. So I can feel it within me and it can flow through me. But I first have to align. And in many ways, the loving kindness practice that I taught you a few months ago is a good way to align to that love and then affirm it. So, really, I want you to look at these again, look at these powers, claim them for you to use, activate them in your mind, and utilize the denial affirmation combination, to get them in alignment with you. And you should feel them in your body. Like I feel myself kind of like straighten up, because I'm letting that power activate within me. So here's some other kind of, I call them all-purpose examples. I'm going to tell you all, and I learned all of this when I first stepped into Unity Church of Brownsville without any real knowledge about Unity teachings, and continued learning and really involved in utilizing everything. And I use these a lot. So this one, nothing and no one can keep me from my good, is a good denial. So whenever I thought, something else was responsible for my good, for what was supposed to happen to me, I said, wait a minute, nothing and no one can keep me from my good. It helped me shift that victim consciousness. God is my source is an affirmation too. The job is not my source. The ex is not my source. The bank is not my source. These are not my source. God is my source. All of these other things are just vehicles through which my good can come to me. And that's the truth. So and the other one, the presence of God is in this. This is a very powerful affirmation because you're going to see a lot of things where it's going to look like something like the presence of God isn't there. And that's not true. The presence of God is in everything. There is nothing that can, we say that in our principles, right? So the presence of God is in everything. I may be not recognizing it here right now. And so I need to claim it because guess who is here? Me. I'm here. So if I'm here, then the presence of God through me can be here if I claim it. And I'm going to claim it, that the presence of God is in this. And then I know and I believe that it will be revealed to me what is mine to do. But definitely mine to do is to claim the presence of God is in this. And then when someone throws something at me, again, it's their pain that they're expressing and it's coming and it's a projection to me. I can just wipe it off and say, this is not the truth of me. Or maybe I have a thought or a belief about myself that I recognize and I go, wait a minute, that's not the truth of me. And so I just very lightly say, no, that's not the truth of me. This is the truth of me. And that's where I affirm my truth. All is possible in the realm of ideas. So here's the idea, we there's the absolute realm where all is, and then we are here in the realm of ideas. And so or here we're in the realm of expression, in the realm of manifestation. Wow. So if all is possible, I'm going to choose better, right? I'm going to choose better ideas. And I make those choices with my free will because that's a power. And this is another one that I like. This, and I put in parentheses, it could be a thought, it could be a feeling, it could be a belief, has no power over me. So you just fill in the blank. If it's something that's coming around, you can say, this thought has no power over me. And claim a new thought. Activate the power within you and do the affirmation. And then the next one is I choose. And here we fill in the blank with a power. I choose life. I choose discernment. I choose love. Okay. So you're using it. That's very powerful to choose the power, activate the power within you and choose it for your good. So I hope this was helpful. I hope it kind of brought to life again, maybe, kind of dust them off, those 12 powers within you. And I don't recommend you work with all of them at once. I recommend you pick one or two at the max and you use those. And you'll know which ones you need. You'll know where it is that you're being challenged. And you'll know that you want to work through this challenge because this is a challenge that this is what is yours to do. And that is to activate that Christ consciousness and embody that is the truth of who you are. Thanks a lot for inviting me.